Hello, Capricorn, and welcome to your media reading for 2025. Now, the autumn reading. I'm Eric Francis Coppolino. This reading is for Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising, or Chiron. All will work. And I want to go over what has changed since the spring, and also before that, with the Awakening 2025 annual reading. A lot has moved. A lot has developed. I want to thank you also for being patient with this reading. It has really felt like moving through molasses. I've basically devoted my summer to it, and I honestly can't believe it's taken this long. But I am doing my best and bringing in the most original and alive and relevant readings that I possibly can. All right, so I will perk up and let's get this party started. So one of the so Capricorn has a special role in astrology in that it represents the most dense layer of earthly reality. It basically represents the crust of the earth and the mountains and the things that are the most solid about our planet, and by extension, the most solid about in comparison to what they represent in consciousness. So Capricorn is the sign of all that is solid in terms of the planet that we live on and its features, as well as things like the structures inside of cities, the structures of governments, the structures of family. It's all about structures. And as Rick Levine pointed out, when Saturn's ruled by Capricorn, and I can't quite see it right now, but it's kind of a combination, Saturn, kind of a combination of an S and a T, and there's always something about structure going on with Capricorn. And what is happening now, what's been happening for approximately the past 30, 35 years, is that everything that utilizes and relies upon structure is basically crumbling or melting. And this is not easy. It is not easy to take a step and then the bottom falls out. It's a little like in Twin Peaks when Agent Cooper is running around behind the scenes in the Black Lodge, and the floor is doing this. He's trying to walk on the floor, and the floor is cut in strips, and it's going up and down. Only in our case, it's you kind of step on it, and the bottom gives out. And we associate this usually with Pluto having come through Capricorn between 2008 and 2024, but it goes back a lot further than that. And I want to just mention that for a second, though I don't think I have any charts to demonstrate it. I will use the blank wheel, which we're going to start with. In fact, before we get there, there were a series of conjunctions in 1993. Conjunctions of two outer planets, Uranus and Neptune, exactly contained in the year 1993. And this represents, if you know any young people and you're familiar with their sense that nothing is solid, nothing is trustworthy, this is around where that began. This was really though we did not know it at the time, it was the warning that this other world was going to arise, and that world is the digital world. And I'm preparing a message of some kind, a article or a video or possibly both, about this very troubling generation gap between kids born in the 80s and their parents born in the 50s. There's a lot of estrangement between kids born in the 80s and their parents born in the 50s, and it is quite troubling. And this is worse than the generation gap between the kids who were, for example, born in the 40s coming of age in the 60s, and their parents born in the 1920s, who served in World War II, the fathers, because at least we could say, well, the children, adult children, teenagers, were rejecting this concept of what they perceived to be an unjust war, and people pretty much agree that World War II was worth fighting. That's a whole other story, but let's go with the prevailing cultural mythology. That World War II was worth it and was fighting the good cause, but Vietnam, no, Vietnam, not so much, just randomly bombing a little country in Southeast Asia. In fact, several little countries, Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam. And those kids, born in the 40s and 50s, rebelled. And it was at least understandable to see that there was a generation gap between the people who fought and won World War II versus the ones who were protesting against the Vietnam War. And there had never been a time when the countercultural movement was so strong, and you had all of these young people who were experimenting with all kinds of things, and the birth control pill had come out, and it was like a whole different world. That, to me, was an understandable generation gap. But the generation gap between people born in the 50s and their kids born in the 80s, it's challenging to understand this. And the kids born in the 50s had a lot of experiences, and they themselves experienced the generation gap. And part of what was going on, part of what was behind that was a conjunction in Capricorn between Uranus and Neptune. Uranus, Neptune. And if you think of what should be the stability of Capricorn and an influence even as destabilizing as either of those planets in Capricorn, well, you can see we've got something going on here. But when you combine them, that's even more destabilizing. And so what I'm getting at here in a slightly roundabout way is that Capricorn is something we depend upon for stability. We depend upon it for structure. But since the early 1990s, when these planets arrived in Capricorn, there has been this crumbling of known reality. And the thing that we count upon the most, Capricorn, that represents the things we count on the most, the structures of society, the banks, the stock market, the blue chip, the stalwart corporations that America's backbone was built on, Standard Oil and all, the stability of the government, on every level, the stability of the family on every level. The crumbling, it certainly begins after World War II. The atomic bomb is being used, and we're being told that you can just kind of split the atom, and matter turns into energy. But it's in the 90s that the bottom starts to fall out. Saturn was involved too. There's kind of a triple conjunction very, very early in Capricorn, and then it reforms as Uranus and Neptune. And so that conjunction leads to 9/11. When I sat down for one of my first astrology lessons with David Arner, this is in the summer of 1995 or so, maybe the spring of 95, he pulled out a chart for the Uranus-Neptune conjunction, and he said, we're going to see the effects in 7 years. 7 years. And right after that, we're all watching the World Trade Center fall down. And so I cannot stress enough how painful it is to be alive now, because we can absolutely not trust anything, and we keep putting our trust back in things, and then they